The town of Ravenshade had always whispered about the old Holloway house, a decaying Victorian mansion that stood at the edge of the forest, its windows black voids, its doors gaping like the mouths of the forgotten. It was a place that carried an unshakable air of sorrow, a house that had devoured hope and spit out nightmares. The villagers shared stories in hushed voices, warning the curious, cautioning the reckless. For decades, no one had dared step inside after sunset. Those who did never spoke of it again. Some went missing. Others were found wandering in the woods days later, eyes vacant, mouths muttering incoherent words. James Foster had heard these stories all his life. They were legends, nothing more than local superstition, exaggerated tales meant to frighten children and keep adventurous souls at bay. But James was not one to be swayed by fear. A 22-year-old thrill-seeker with an insatiable hunger for the supernatural, he had spent years chasing ghosts, investigating abandoned buildings, and capturing eerie encounters on film. His online channel, Foster's Frights, had gained traction among paranormal enthusiasts, and now he was ready for his biggest challenge yet. A full night alone in Holloway House. Armed with a flashlight, a camera, and a daredevil's arrogance, James approached the house on the night of the full moon. The wind howled through the trees, rustling the dry leaves that littered the ground. The iron gate screeched as he pushed it open, and he felt an involuntary shudder crawl down his spine. The house loomed before him, an ancient sentinel against the night, its towering presence exuding an unwelcoming energy. The door stood slightly ajar, as if inviting him in. He hesitated only for a moment before stepping inside. The heavy wooden door groaned shut behind him, the sound echoing through the empty halls like a death knell. He clicked on his flashlight, the beam slicing through the thick darkness. The air was stagnant, heavy with the scent of decay and something older, something rotten beyond mere time. His footsteps echoed, bouncing off the cracked walls. The grand hallway stretched before him, its once majestic chandelier swaying slightly despite the stillness in the air. He set up his camera on a tripod in the center of the room, speaking into it with a confident grin. "All right, guys, here we are. The infamous Holloway house. They say no one survives a night here. Let's see if that's true." Then, the first sign came. A whisper. Soft, almost tender, calling his name. James spun around, his flashlight beam darting across the room. Nothing. Just the rotting furniture and the tattered wallpaper peeling like dead skin. His pulse quickened, but he forced a chuckle. "Just my imagination," he muttered. The night stretched on. The house breathed around him. The whispers grew into murmurs, then hushed conversations, voices overlapping in a language he didn't understand. A cold sweat broke across his forehead. The rational part of his brain told him it was the wind, the acoustics of the old house playing tricks on him. But another part, the primal, instinctive part, knew better that he followed the sound, drawn deeper into the house, past a long corridor where the walls seemed to pulse like living flesh. His flashlight flickered, and for a brief second, he saw shadows moving. Too many, stretching impossibly tall, shifting unnaturally fast at exactly 3 a.m. The air turned ice cold. The whispers stopped, and then came the knocking. Knock. Knock.it echoed from the second floor. James hesitated, heart hammering. Every part of his brain screamed at him to leave, but something, some unseen force, compelled him to climb the stairs. Each step groaned under his weight. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, shadows shifting as if they had minds of their own. That he reached the last door. It was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness seeping out with a deep breath. He pushed it open. Inside, the walls were lined with mirrors, each reflecting a different version of himself. Some distorted, others eerily still. But the one in the center made his blood run cold. It wasn't him. It was something that looked like him, grinning with too many teeth. The lights flickered. The reflection stepped forward, and James ran. He bolted down the stairs, his breath ragged, but the house had changed. The front door was gone, replaced by an endless hallway of doors, each one leading to nowhere. Behind him, the whispers had returned, louder now, chanting in unison. Then, the worst sound of all, footsteps. Right behind him, cold fingers brushed his shoulder. He screamed. The camera was found the next morning outside the house, its battery drained. The footage, a static-filled nightmare of distorted images and whispers. James was never seen again, and Holloway House remains waiting, its doors forever open for the next foolish soul who dares to enter.